Hello everyone. Today we talk about freedom of speech in China during the pandemic. Someone very famous gets sentenced to 18 years because he doesn't like the CCP and the ruler. Okay, let's take a look. The big canon Ren for his outspoken criticism of the Chinese Communist Party CCP. Ren Zhiqiang was a prominent real estate whose wealth and political connection long seems to shield him from severe repercussion. Known for his fearless commentary and sharp critique of government policies. Ren was a real figure in China's elite circle. However, this once untouchable businessman has now met a harsh fate. In September 2020, a Beijing court sentenced Ren Zhiqiang to 18 years in prison on charge of corruption, bribery, and abuse of power by personnel of a state-owned interface. Yet his supporters and sympathizers insist that his true crime was not economic misconduct, but his criticism of Chinese leader Xi Jinping, who he famously called a clown. A case of punishment for speech. Is obvious that this is a punishment for his words. Anyone can see that, said Guo Yuhua, a Beijing-based, in a telephone interview. Those so-called economic issues, that charge, are nothing but fabricated excuse. She argues that Ren's case exemplifies that the CCP's tactic of suppressing those dissents by cloaking political retaliation in the guises of economic crimes. The Beijing No. 2 Intermediate People's Court alleged that between 2003 and 2017, Ren illegally amassed over 19.41 million yuan, approximately 2.8 million USD, in profits, and claimed his abuse of power caused state-owned interface to suffer losses of amounts of 116.7 million yuan, about 17 million USD. The court brief verdict summary states that Ren admitted to all the alleged crimes, criminal facts, and willingly accepted the court's judgment. However, this claim has raised widespread skepticism. Observers familiar with China's jurisdiction system know that in politically sensitive cases, a defendant's confession is often under pressures. Singling the systematic dismantling and any remains of a free expression of China. Sophie Richardson, China directors at Human Rights Watch, remarked, "The court claims that Ren Zhiqiang fully accepted the verdict is deeply troubling. Such statements typically indicate that the defendant faced significant suffering during the trial process, rather than suggesting that generally endorse Xi Jinping's so-called rules of law. The downfall of a right at 69 years old, Ren Zhiqiang hails from a privileged family deeply rooted in the CCP's legacy. His father once served as China's Vice Minister of Commerce. Ren himself close tie with top CCP leaders, including Vice President Wang Qishan. This background made him a member of the second-generation Reds. the offspring of the CCP's revolutionary founder, who often enjoys special privilege and political protection. Yet this time, even his shell could not protect him from the retribution. Crushing Ren Zhiqiang and punishing him under the pretext of economic crime is meant to serve as a warning to others. It is killing one to scare 100, especially targeting the right second generation, said Cai Xia, acquaintance of Ren and a former professor at the Central Party School, in an interview. Before the verdict, now living in the United States after being expelled from the CCP for her own criticism of Xi. Cai believed this severe sentence is not just personal but a deliberate signal to China's elite, cautioning them against openly challenging the party's authority. From business star to political firestorm, Ren Zhiqiang's career began in the 1980s, riding the wave of Deng Xiaoping's economic reform, transitioning from a Beijing's official to a businessman. He took the helm of the Huayuan Group, a state-controlled real estate company. Under his leadership, Huayuan became a powerhouse in China's booming property market, earning him vast wealth and influence. Ecologist He Yan described him in a memoir as a confidence, decisive, and commanding, like a military officer. However, Ren's personality extended beyond the ballroom into the public. As early as 2010, he stirs controversy when a protester saw a shoe at him during a real estate forum. Yet he seemed unfazed by criticism, embraced opportunities to share his view on social media. What this society likes most is not lies but the truth, he declared in 2013. In 2016, Ren first landed in political hot water for marking Xi Jinping's directive that the Chinese media must listen to the party and follow the party. At that time, the CCP imposed a relatively light punishment, a 1-year probation within the party and a barrage of condemnation from the state media. But in March 2020, Ren was detained after criticizing Xi's handling of the COVID-19 outbreak. In a widely circulated articles, he argued that the officials' initial cover-up and the suppression of information about the virus validated his long-standing warning about the dangers of the free speech, banning free speech. He went further and marking Xi standing there is not an empire displaying his new clothes, but a clown who has stripped naked, yet insists on ruling as an empire. A trial take place in speed round in the Zhiqiang's case was clocked in secrecy, a hallmark of a political charge trial in China. The court did not disclose the exact date of the trial, so supporters know that the notice was posted on the September 11, indicating a hearing would take place from detention to sentencing. The process moved with extremely fast speed, a common feature of sensitive cases under the CCP-controlled jurisdictory China state media, provided minimum coverage of the verdict, publishing only the court's brief statement, suggesting an effort to downplay the case and avoid sparkling public debate. This is outright political persecution, Cai Xia said angrily. When Ren then retired from the Huayuan in 2014, he underwent an audit, and in 2016 he was investigated repeatedly with no issues found. bring up all matters. Now is clearly a case of fabricating charges. A border-chilling affair. Ren Zhiqiang's harsh sentence is not an isolated incident, but a part of the border pattern since Xi Jinping's assumed power in 2012. Over the year, the CCP has progressively tightening its grip on dissent, targeting not only ordinary citizens but also party insiders and elite. In 2014, Xi warned no one is allowed to ease the Communist Party's rise while smashing the Communist Party's apart, a phrase later included in the collection of his quotes, underscoring his intolerance for internal criticism. Similar cases abound. Tsinghua University law professor Xu Zhangrang was briefly detained in July 2020 for publishing essays critical of Xi, with investigators baselessly accusing him of soliciting prostitution, a charge he and his supporter strongly denied. Beijing publisher Jian Xiaolan was detained in September 2020 for supporting Xu, with the police citing illegally business operation. So her allies believe she was targeted for aiding the dissent. International other Ren Zhiqiang. The 18-year sentence has drawn widespread condemnation from the international community. Human rights watchers Sufei Redison called the verdict extremely cruel, warning that it represents a further assault on free speech in China. She expressed concern over the court's claim that the then willingly confessed, suggesting it may indicate mistreatment or torture in custody. This sentence sent a dangerous signal to everyone. Redison said it shows that even someone with Ren Zhiqiang's deep connection cannot enjoy the freedom to criticize under Xi Jinping's rule. The end of an era. Ren Zhiqiang case marked the end of an era. During China's economic boom, business talent like him was seen as a pioneer of the reform, and their outspokenness was tolerated to an extent, sometimes even viewed as a force for progress. But as Xi's power, this limited space for free expression has vanished entirely. For Ren's supporters, his sentence is not just a personal tragedy, but a warning about China's future. At this age, he may spend the rest of his life in prison, unless his term is reduced. His fate will likely make others think twice before speaking out, particularly those contemplating challenging the CCP's authority. This is a dark signal. Cai Xia concluded. Ren Zhiqiang's case tells us that under today's CCP, the price of the truth can be your freedom, perhaps even your entire life. Thank you so much. Very appreciate it.